Hey guys, welcome to Legacy Minutes for February 4th, 2020. I hope your week is off to a really great start. Last night we talked about worship, and I'd like to continue that theme again tonight. Last night we talked about how we are called to worship in all things, and we used the illustration of that apple and how our tendency is that when we bite into that apple, especially if it's a Honeycrisp apple, we kind of take a step back and go, wow, that is an amazing apple. And it is. The apple is amazing, and our ability to taste and experience and discern that apple is amazing. And all of that amazingness should lead us to worship our amazing God who created those things. Right now I'm looking out a window of what used to be an Arizona sunset. And if you haven't experienced an Arizona sunset, you're missing out. They are beautiful and amazing. And again, that should lead me to worship my amazing God who created the sun and created the mountains and painted that beautiful canvas rather than those things that he created themselves. Tonight, I'd like to give you a warning about worship. We were created to worship. All men, all women were created to worship God alone. But sin has come into this world and corrupted it to such a degree that we end up worshiping creation more often than the Creator. This is the tendency of all mankind. But here's the kicker. Many of those things that we can worship in creation are good things. Things like our jobs, and things like the money that we make from our jobs, people in our lives, especially our wives and our children. These are good things in creation that can become things that we worship. Things like ministry. Yeah. Even ministry, even serving the Lord, which is a good thing, if elevated to an ultimate thing, becomes a bad thing. We have to be aware of this. We have to know that we have a tendency to elevate good things in our lives to places that they don't belong. Let me give you an example. Imagine a dad who, vicariously or not, wants to enroll his son in football. He gets him started in Pop Warner, and as his son begins to show some promise, man, that dad begins to invest everything, time, energy, money in making his kid the best football player his kid can be. Now, in and of itself, that's a good thing. But at some point, there is a challenge here where this may become an ultimate thing, a thing that begins to take the dad away from discipling his family because he's spending so much time at practice or at games or at camps, things that take this dad now away from worshiping with his brothers and sisters at church because, the tournament is on Sunday. We've all known people like this who don't come to church regularly, people that used to be there all the time, and now they've disappeared because of all the things that they're involved in their kids' lives. And this is an example of elevating a good thing, that is investing in your kids' lives to a place of an ultimate thing where it begins now to encroach upon your worship of the Lord, upon your living out the things that you're called to do as men in your life. And those good things become ultimate things, which makes them bad things. We all have these tendencies in our lives, and they're different for all of us. For some of us, it's our wives. We tend to elevate our wives to a place where they don't belong. We tend to elevate the happiness of our wives to a place that they don't belong, so that we're fearful of stepping out into maybe the vision that God has called us to. We're fearful of upsetting the status quo because we want to make sure that our wives are happy. Wives' happiness is a good thing, but if it becomes an ultimate thing, it becomes a bad thing. Some of us, it's our job. Maybe it's the money that we make at our job, and we're so fearful that we're not going to have enough, maybe for the kids' college fund, that we work 80 to 90 hour weeks instead of resting in the Lord, and that job and that money and having that, that large bank account and that large savings account and those big college funds become ultimate to the point where we neglect the calling that God may have in our lives to step out in faith. Maybe it's climbing the corporate ladder at work, and that's what is the ultimate thing, the success that we feel, the pats on the back from the higher ups, and those things which are good when elevated to ultimate, when elevated to the throne of our lives, when we begin to lay down the things that God has called us to so that we can pick up those things and run with them, they become bad things. They become things that have captured a place of worship in our lives. Men, we need to step back and examine our lives and say, what are those things that are good, that I tend to elevate into a place that's unhealthy, into a place that they don't belong in my life. I tend to look at those things and put them in a place where they honestly shouldn't be. What are those things? I need to examine myself. I need to identify those things so that I can be on guard, so that I can share those with my brothers in Christ, so that I can share those with my wife and maybe even my kids in a time of vulnerability, and sit down and go, listen, guys, these are some things that I struggle with worshiping, and they don't deserve to be worshiped. These are some things that I struggle with making ultimate, and they're not ultimate because only one is ultimate, and that is the God who saved me. That is the God who called me. That is the God who has given me breath in my lungs so that I can live and worship him. Men, what are those things in your life that tend to become ultimate? What are those things in your life that you need to look at and say, hey, I need to scale this back. I need to put some dampers on this in my life so that God is on his rightful throne in my heart. I don't know what it is for you, but I'm praying for you. Would you pray for me? Love you guys. Until next time, God bless.